GM-MTV promised a descent into narrative madness, but they gave us a lesson in conflict resolution. Only Friends Dream On isn't a worthy expansion of the universe. It's a spin-off cannibalizing the brand name of a far superior parent story. While the 2023 series succeeded because it was a demolition derby of predatory, toxic, and reckless leads, the second installment traded raw pheromones for theater school bickering. You're not watching characters anymore. You're watching life-size social media avatars afraid to catch a single negative comment. The chaos is dead, and the vibe is officially funeral adjacent. Today, we are auditing a tragedy of narrative cowardice. The 2026 installment was marketed as the return of the High Wire Act, but by episode 6, the diagnostic is terminal. The High Wire has been replaced by a safety net woven from brand protection. In 2023, Only Friends was a biological hazard. It allowed its leads to be profoundly morally bankrupt. We didn't tune in for a coming-of-age recovery arc. We tuned in for the messy high-stakes consequences of catastrophic decisions. Let's look at the stagnation scale. In 2023, the endgame wasn't a mystery. We knew the official pairings, but the journey was a battlefield. The data shows the 2023 original succeeded because it prioritized narrative friction over brand safety. You knew where they'd land, but the constant, unexpected hookups kept the audience at the edge of their seat. In the 2026 roster, that friction has been replaced by a corporate mandate. The fixed CP is no longer a destination. It's a cage that prevents the characters from actually colliding. When you lock Earth Mix, Uboom, or Joss go into rigid lanes from episode 1, you kill the anything can happen energy. Contrast this with the 2023 archive. Back then, the mess was a threat. Now, the mess is sterilized. Nick and Boston's failure to end up together in the original roster proved that this universe used to have stakes. Now, everyone is staying in their lane. The drama feels managed by a PR firm to keep the ship metric stable. It's not Only Friends Dream On. It's only partners who have minor misunderstandings in a theater department. In the 2023 source, the player variable was high. By episode 5, Top and Boston were already actively screwing around with each other and the rest of the cast. Even if you shipped Forcebook or Mark Neo, the show wasn't afraid to let them create an emotional pileup that created genuine suspense. It wasn't just about who they liked. It was about the physical damage they caused. Now, the tension is gone because the risk of a ship breach is zero. The failure isn't just about who's kissing who. It's a systematic identity crisis. We are detecting a massive identity crisis. Only Friends succeeded because it was the black sheep of the GM-MTV roster. It was the raw, unfiltered alternative to the polished, safe romances we see every season. But Only Friends Dream On is suffering from standardization. It's trying to occupy a middle ground that doesn't exist. It wants the edgy aesthetic of the original, but it's delivering the narrative structure of a standard school drama. We're seeing the GM-MTV-ification of a franchise that was built to subvert those very tropes. The audience is still logged in, but they aren't watching for the plot. They're watching for the ships. That's a fatal error for a series called Only Friends. When a show built on the mess becomes the routine, the system has failed. It's no longer an outlier. It's just another unit on the assembly line, polished to a shine until all the texture is gone. The characters in the 2023 original felt like people you'd meet at a club at 3 a.m. The characters in the spin-off feel like people you'd meet at a corporate networking event. They talk about feelings and growth in ways that sound like they've spent too much time reading fan fiction threads about themselves. Check the forensic file. By episode 5 of the first installment, the endgame was already a scorched earth. Top hadn't just flirted. He had systematically lied to and cheated on Mew. The central official ship wasn't a sanctuary. It was a crime scene. The show forced us to watch the lead character implode his own happiness for a moment of weakness with Boston. Contrast that with the current series. We are 6 episodes deep, and the official ships are wrapped in narrative bubble wrap. The toxicity has been downgraded from an action to an idea. In 2023, characters did bad things. In 2026, they just talk about how they might do bad things before deciding to have a healthy conversation instead. The top mute level of betrayal is nowhere to be found because GMMTV is now more interested in protecting the ship's purity than telling a difficult story. This is a textbook case of narrative burnout. GMMTV is attempting to be everything to everyone. A sexy franchise installment and a safe harbor for fixed CPs. But by refusing to let the characters get their hands dirty, the story has flatlined. Burnout occurs when the input. The heavy themes of theater, strikes, and professional rivalry yield zero output in terms of emotional stakes. Because the studio is unwilling to let these characters make the high-cost toxic mistakes that define the parent story, the plot feels sluggish. We are watching asset management, not character development. We didn't come here to watch a group project succeed. We came to watch a social catastrophe unfold. We're watching a high-pretense, low-risk simulation where the characters aren't growing. They're just tired. One series asked if a relationship could survive a total betrayal. The other asks if theater students can successfully produce a play. The stakes aren't even in the same zip code. If you want to see exactly where the teeth were pulled, look at the most dangerous variable in the system. The most glaring error in the code? The lobotomy of Boston. In the source material, Boston was the apex predator. The catalyst who kept the anything-can-happen energy alive by refusing to respect boundaries. He was the friction that made the show burn. In the spin-off, Boston is being systematically neutralized by the script itself. Every time he moves toward the old chaos, the narrative intervenes to keep the original pairings safe. The toxicity that once defined him is now just a costume he wears. When you turn a predator into a bystander to protect the brand stability of the other ships, you don't have only friends. You have a standard GM MTVBL wearing a leather jacket. The danger isn't real. It's just a marketing aesthetic. The plot is acting like a chastity belt for the character's worst impulses. If the intimacy is strictly limited to official couples, you lose the dangerous energy that made the original hostile setting feel alive. In 2023, you could see the hunger. In 2026, you just see the exhaustion of a 14-hour shoot day. The actors aren't looking for a connection. They're looking for their mark. We wanted Boston-level predatory energy. We got a moral lesson on healthy boundaries. It's giving, I want to be edgy, but I have a 9 p.m. curfew. In the original, the leads were actual agents of destruction. Top wasn't just stressed. He was a liar. Boston wasn't just edgy. He was a wrecking ball. In the current series, Rome and Raffi are just stressed theater students. The show is mimicking the gritty aesthetic. The cold color grading and the exhausted expressions without the conceptual punch. If you take the risk out of the anti-BL, you're just left with a show about people who need more sleep and a better therapist. It's not drama. It's a diagnostic report. The receipts are in. Let's look at the final data dump. The verdict? This 2026 roster is a narrative loading screen. We've waited 6 episodes for the chaos to initiate, but the fandom stability filter is too thick. GMMTV has prioritized the official ship economy over the anti-BL DNA, so they've neutered the bite that made this brand a masterpiece in 2023. By prioritizing brand stability, they've moved from required viewing to background noise. People are still watching because they love the pairings, but the data is clear. The system has been optimized for comfort, not for truth. We're no longer watching a revolution. We're watching a routine. This isn't a story anymore. It's just a multicam photo shoot for upcoming merchandise. We don't care about healthy boundaries. We care about compelling friction. And right now, the friction is at 0%. What do you think? Is Only Friends Dream On actual growth? Or are we just watching a sanitized shell of what made the original great? Let's fight about it in the comments. Archive closed.